Things are about to get strange, but are they good strange or bad strange? Let's find out. How do you do, G-Pod crew? It's your Nutty Buddy Pod here, and today we'll be doing a spoiler-free review of Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. Then, in the last half of this video, we will break down the movie and get my honest opinion of what the Multiverse of Madness can bring. Now, I know for a lot of you, you will not see the movie until this weekend or way later. I feel this would be the chosen time to see this movie, but be warned that the internet will be ripe with spoilers if you don't go see it this weekend. I myself would be part of that, the spoilers I mean, but at least I'm kind enough to warn you ahead of time when it will happen. But the question in hand is, what do I think? Well, honestly, it's a mixed bag, and I honestly blame several things for forming my opinion. Early reviews and hype. Both sadly split right down the middle, and in a lot of ways influenced my thoughts and opinion. First off, the cast is outstanding, but before I get into their roles, I do want to emphasize that having knowledge of a lot of the Marvel, lore in the movie and TV world will really help. Understand, both Elizabeth Olsen and Benedict Cumberbatch are amazing in their roles, and I'm going to butcher this name. Xochitl Gomez. I know I butchered that name. As American Chavez is just outstanding, and I can't wait to see what her character does in the MCU. Though I already know from the comic books, but that can change as well. And just to emphasize, I do love the portrayal of both Strange and Wanda in this. They knock it out of the park, though I'm not sure how one fan will feel. But again, we'll get back to that later. So, as a Marvel fan, I enjoyed it. It brought together several worlds that I will be excited to go over in the full breakdown. But sadly, if you go into this movie with no Marvel knowledge, I feel like you will be lost. Especially if you haven't seen the first Doctor Strange, Spider-Man No Way Home, and of course, WandaVision. Now, before I give my actual opinion review, I wanted to just advise that if you're a fan of both Scarlet Witch or Doctor Strange, then you'll be happy to know that both are in Fortnite at this moment. You can get Doctor Strange through the Battle Pass, and you can get Scarlet Witch through the Fortnite item shop. Either way, if you have plans to purchase either one, then please use my supporter credit code PUTTY, P-U-T-T-Y, in the Fortnite item shop. Again, this is an ad for my supporter credit code PUTTY in the Fortnite item shop. Thank you. Now back on to the review. Now I'm currently in the process of changing how I review things to make them my own, but for right now I want to state that this movie is fun to watch, but does seem a little winded. See, as a fan, I love it. As someone who's looking from the outside though, and I feel newcomers honestly will struggle. The MCU is a deep cavern now, and if you're just entering it, then this movie will be truly overwhelming to say the least. But man, the Sam Raimi touch is here, and if you've been absorbed in all the Sam Raimi Spider-Mans and the Evil Dead series, then this will look so familiar, and just like Kevin Smith, Jason Mewes is there as well. Think about it. Oh, and I don't want to forget to mention the score from Danny Elfman. Man, so perfect and on point as usual. But the things I really want to tread on, I have to lead into a spoiled territory, as in a full breakdown that leads into almost every part of my deep thoughts. Understand also, I'm reading this by a script, so if I'm not looking at the camera, I have a lot to read. Anyway, so if you plan to continue in this video, then I want to warn you now, there is a spoiler alert ahead. And if you have seen this movie, then be kind and do not reveal any spoilers in the comments. I repeat, do not reveal any spoilers in the comments. With that being said, spoiler alert. I'm going into spoilers. I'm going to talk about spoilers. If you haven't seen this movie, perfect time to stop. You got like a little 5-minute review, 4.5 minute, whatever, scripted. Nicely done. Hope you enjoyed it. Let's get into the full breakdown. So, let me get this out of the way first. The hype and the rumors of a lot of things said did and did not come true. And what I mean by that is like some things came true, some things didn't. It's kind of like Marvel trolled us and sent out real and fake rumors just to get us guessing. One would be the poster. So, let's get this out of the way now. Deadpool was not in this movie. Not even hinted. Kind of. We will get back to that later. Kind of. I might be trying to pull something Deadpoolish. And when I get to it, I'll explain it. Now, did that have any connection to my final thoughts? No. And I'll tell you why. You see, I kind of had a bad feeling going in that he wouldn't be in this movie. But I figured other things would occur that it created too much hype for me, going in. Was there surprises? Yes. But not as much as I thought. But I will get into those in the full breakdown. But I do want to advise that one thing I really wanted even more than Deadpool still isn't recognized. And maybe it's for good reason. This movie is the Doctor Strange sequel as well as the WandaVision sequel actually. But the one thing I wanted to be recognized is mutants. Wanda Maximoff is a mutant in the comic books, and so are her kids. And now that Charles Xavier has been acknowledged, why can't they be? I don't know. But with that being said, let's kick off with my full breakdown. Oh, and one more note. There was a lot to cover that this was scripted to make it flow better. So if I look like I'm looking off screen, which I've been this whole time, well, I am, to read this script that I'm also reading at this moment. Seriously, I am. Meta, huh? Okay, let's go into those gosh darn breakdowns. And also, I wrote here, I'm probably going to look away and try to emphasize on that. And do that here. All written. It's weird. Let's continue. Now the first thing I want to bring up is DEMIURGE. Now keep in mind as well that I only watched the movie once and tried to keep up with all the Easter eggs. So if I miss any, I apologize. I tried. So let's start with what was rumored as DEMIURGE, the creature that both Strange and America first fight before she opens up the portal to our world. Now I still believe this creature to be the same, but it's hard to tell because in the comics it's responsible for creating the Utopian parallel, which will also come into play later on with America's mothers. But I feel very strongly that this is a DEMIURGE. But what really was disconnected for me is how this has no connection to DEMIURGE to acknowledge one Maximoff's son, Wiccan. Alright, this is where things get weird. You see, in the comic books, Wiccan's final form is DEMIURGE, much like his mother being the Scarlet Witch. But this wasn't acknowledged in any way in the movie, and honestly, this felt like a missed moment. So either, 1, this is not the DEMIURGE and a creature I'm unaware of, and Wiccan will later become the DEMIURGE. Or 2, this is the DEMIURGE and there is no connection to Wiccan. Or 3, this is Wiccan as the DEMIURGE but will not be acknowledged until later. Don't worry, I know this is confusing, and believe me, I can understand why, but this will also be why a lot of people may get confused by this movie. Next is SHUMA GORATH GARGANTOS. So, here's the complication that makes me sad to have to explain this, especially since SHUMA GORATH is one of my favorite characters. So, in the movie, you see America Chavez chased by a tentacle monster that Doctor Strange confronts. Now, in the movie, they call the monster Gargantos, pictured on the screen here. Now, Gargantos may look slightly similar to the creature you see in the movie, but true Marvel fanboys know who this truly is. SHUMA GORATH. Now, I pictured SHUMA GORATH here. Now, sadly, the name had to be changed to the other character's name. And you might be asking why. And of course, he looks familiar, but why was he changed? Well, SHUMA GORATH was created by Steven Englehart and artist Frank Brunner and debuted in Marvel Premiere number 10. This established him as the enemy of Doctor Strange. Now, Englehart lifted SHUMA GORATH's name from Cole the Conqueror's story. The Curse of the Golden Skull by Robert E. Howard. This means that the rights to the character's name actually belong to Heroic Signatures, along with the rest of Howard's Cole the Conqueror and Conan the Barbarian related intellectual properties. So this means that Marvel could keep the look, but not the name, sadly. In my eyes, it's SHUMA GORATH. Next we have HURL. Now, the Gargantos, or SHUMA GORATH, fight now brings us something to Doctor Strange that he threw. At one point, you see him hurl a pink creature from another dimension. I believe this to be HURL. Okay, I might be reaching for this one just because I want a Deadpool connection, and this is the Deadpool connection I was referring to earlier. HURL is a pink monster in the Deadpool comics that can use his goop to cover someone, which then teleports them to said another location. I mean, it did teleport in the movie, kinda, and I know he hasn't been introduced in any Deadpool movies, but he's in the comics, and I'm reaching, so let's move on. The Ancient One location. Now, for this one, you'll notice on the Sanctum, it looks familiar, and it should, honestly. This is where the Ancient One explained how the Infinity Stones create alternate timelines and universes to Bruce Banner, aka Hulk, in Endgame. So it's funny how it all came full circle around back into this movie. And I thought, I should mention that. Hawkeye and some bugs. Now when Strange meets up with Wanda, she asks why he came to her. He then mentions Hawkeye and some bugs, basically making a joke about how he could have got in touch with them, but the bugs were clearly a joke on Ant-Man and the Wasp. But this is also a jab at them because of the upcoming Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumania movie that also has Kang the Conqueror in it from the Loki series, which deals with variants much like the multiverse, and it all comes around somehow. And I know your head is hurting, don't worry, -2, because I had to write this down, then read it out loud. And and another note, Quantumania got swapped out with the Marvels for release, which now connects several versions of Captain Marvel that connects with this movie that, too much to process. I actually typed this out as well, ows and all. Did y'all get that? Let's continue. RINTRAH and SARA WOLFE. RINTRAH, the Minotaur, as well as SARA WOLFE are the two main sorcerers emphasized in the temple during the battle with Scarlet Witch. Now, RINTRAH, the Minotaur, in the comics is an intelligent being from the extra-dimensional planet Reval. Again, dimensional connection again. RINTRAH first encountered Earth's 616 Sorcerer Supreme, Doctor Strange, when Strange asked someone to repair his cloak of levitation, which had been torn in a battle against the Cots. This also may sound familiar with the damage of his cloak taking place in this movie as well. Also, we'll come back to Earth 616 later as well, which, again, this will just get confusing. SARA WOLFE in the movie is the one that helped Wong by destroying the Darkhold while Wong was held by Scarlet Witch. Now in the comics, SARA WOLFE is the secretary of Doctor Strange and the love interest of Doctor Strange's assistant, Wong, which of course is reversed here. However, their affection could not be done because Wong had been promised to another woman since childhood. This again was changed since Wong is the Sorcerer Supreme now, and Sarah basically is a student. Utopian parallel. Now, this is the dimension considered out of time that American Chavez comes from. Now, in the movie, her mothers were sucked into another dimension by America, but in the comic books, Utopian parallel was created by DEMIURGE, again, mentioned earlier, which again, Wiccan later becomes, and then both of America's parents protect the Utopian parallel from a black hole trying to destroy it. Remember earlier when I said things would get complicated? Yeah, well, I'm not done, and this is why the whole Wiccan thing was kind of confusing. Bruce Campbell is the pizza vendor. So that pizza vendor both Strange and America run into may look kind of familiar. Well, he's Ash from the Evil Dead movies, as well as the announcer in the first Spider-Man movie, as well as the theater usher in the second Spider-Man movie, who also was created as Quentin Beck, aka Mysterio, in those movies, who never went on to be Mysterio. While the actor playing those roles is Bruce Campbell, and all those movies he appeared in were directed by Sam Raimi, who also directed this movie, Multiverse. We'll get back to that in a second. Earth 616 and 838. So remember when both Strange and America get captured in those Illuminati detention cells, and then Christine Palmer starts talking about Universe 838 and Universe 616? Okay, I'm going to do my best to explain this. In the comic books, the core story is Earth 616, which is apparently where the MCU is now. See, fans called the MCU Earth 19999959, basically. But this movie now confirms that the MCU is 616, just like the comic books, which honestly doesn't make sense since we don't have mutants or other characters from the Fox, Sony, and Universal universe. But honestly, this movie confirmed it. So the Illuminati, though, apparently exists in the Earth 838, according to the MCU, which is where Strange went dark. So understand, in the comics, there are different Earths, so multiple characters can exist a lot like Into the Spider-Verse, basically, where, honestly, it can be difficult for versions or variants of other characters to be part of other characters and other variants. Confused yet? Don't worry, we got more! CHTHON statues. Now, when Wanda reaches the Temple of the Darkhold, we see some statues bow to her. Now, this could be some connection to the author of the Darkhold, CHTHON. They do look a lot like him, and it would make sense in the context of this location. Kind of like tribute to the character without actually using the character, which also means that without the Darkhold, the Mephisto storyline could be changed when it comes to the Agatha series. Broken walls. I don't know. The Illuminati. Finally, the one part I was excited to bring up, the full Illuminati. Now, in the comics, the original members consisted of Mr. Fantastic, Doctor Strange, Namor, which he's going to come up in the new Black Panther movie, Black Bolt, Iron Man, and Professor X, or Professor Xavier, with slight changes here and there down the road. Now, in the new Doctor Strange movie, it consists of the following. First off, Baron Mordo, played by Shatul Ejiofor, I knew I'd butcher his name, honestly, reprising his role from the first Doctor Strange movie, but as a different variant that has become Sorcerer Supreme. Next, we have Captain Carter, played by Hayley Atwell, who is reprising her role as Peggy Carter, but from the What If version, where she gets the super serum and becomes Captain Carter. Next, we have Captain Marvel, played by Lashana Lynch. She's reprising her role from the Captain Marvel movies as Maria Rambeau, but in this universe, she gains the powers of Captain Marvel and not Carol Danvers. Next, we have Black Bolt, played by Anson Mount. Now, he's reprising his role as Black Bolt from the horrible Inhumans series that was on ABC TV, but this time I felt he did a lot better and looked a lot better. Next, we have Mr. Fantastic, aka Reed Richards, played by John Krasinski. Now, this is fan service. Fans wanted John to play this role with his wife Emily Blunt as Sue Storm. Now, this is his first time playing the character, and I assume not his last if Marvel and, the fans want it, and honestly, we do. Make this happen. John Krasinski stays as Reed Richards. Though his fate, he did die in this. Most of them did. But there's other versions, I'm sure. And last, but most certainly not least, the one, the only, Professor Xavier, played by Patrick Stewart, reprising his role from the Fox universe, but not. See, this is kind of the animated version complete with his hover chair, but not because he's older. Again, it's really strange, but I think this is the way they killed off that Professor Xavier, and now we can get a new one. I think. It's confusing. Anyway, let's move on away from the Illuminati, kind of. Next, we have Reed Richards' children. Now, Reed Richards mentions that he has children to Wanda when she talks about wanting to establish connection to her children. Now, this also established that both him and Sue are together in this universe, and they have kids. Now, these children are Franklin and Valeria. Now, before I get into these kids, be aware that even Reed's kids can connect to the multiverse, starting with Franklin. Franklin is the first child of Reed Richards and Sue Storm. His superhero name is Powerhouse. Powerhouse, a powerful reality warper. He has one of the most powerful beings in the universe, even at a young age. Franklin used his godlike abilities to help restore the multiverse following its collapse due to the Incursion Crisis. Does the Incursion Crisis sound familiar? We will come back to it later. Then there's Valeria Richards. Now, Valeria Richards is the second child of Dr. Reed Richards and, of course, Sue Storm, or Sue Richards. Now, Valeria goes by the name of Brainstorm. Now, due to her parents being exposed to cosmic radiation and being conceived in the negative zone, it caused her birth to be traumatic. But she doesn't really have any abilities, but did inherit her father's super genius intelligence. Now, she may not have an integral part, but we will be going back to Franklin Richards in just a little while. Captain Carter says, "I can do this all day." Now, this was what Steve Rogers said in the beginning of the first Captain America movie.
"I can do this all day."
Now, Captain Carter repeats this line when Wanda asks, "Is she going to keep going?"
"I can do this all day."
But she said that instead this time, instead of Steve.
"I can do this all day."
Doctor Strange's sister. Now, in the comic book, Stephen Strange's sister dies at a young age of drowning. This was the catalyst for Stephen Strange to become a doctor himself. He wanted to basically save lives. Now, this was supposed to be a scene in the first Doctor Strange movie, but was cut for some reason. So, this is actually the first time it's mentioned in the MCU during his encounter with the Darkhold version of Strange. Now we're going to get into the mid-credit scenes and the end-credit scenes. And the mid-credit scenes is going to go back to another character, but it will be brief. But it is special too. Mid-credit scene, CLEA. No, so this is one that really shocked me. The woman at the end of the movie that rips open through the portal is CLEA, played by Charlize Theron. In the comic, she's Doctor Strange's wife, at times. She comes from another dimension entirely, and her father comes from a dark dimension. And look, it's complicated. But did you hear what she said? There's been an incursion. This connects back to Reed Richards' son Franklin, who had to use his abilities to help restore the multiverse because of an incursion. Wow, so much to unpack, so much to connect. Then there's the end credit scene. End credit scene, Bruce Campbell, pizza stand, Multiverse.
"I can do this all day."
Guys, it's been amazing doing a full breakdown, a full review, and I know I still missed stuff. For example, when Strange went through the multiverse and he kept on colliding for the first time he met with America and he was trying to save her life, you see the Savage Land, you see the What If world, she talks about the Paint world, you see all that kind of stuff. I saw Savage Land, I saw a few places, but it was so overwhelming quick too, that I had no time to write down little areas and go, what is that, or what is that? And I know there were areas and I saw them and I went, oh, I saw that. But unfortunately, there's just so much for me to add that I would have to go see it a second time. But I felt I brought enough for a full breakdown for you guys. And I appreciate you guys watching. This movie was still a fantastic movie, though I felt there was going to be more. And maybe it did need more. But with it being only 2 hours long and something like No Way Home being 3 hours long, and I felt No Way Home did a little bit better. But I want to know what you guys think. I know for some of you guys, the Wanda stands, you love it. And that's okay. But guys, I want to thank you all for watching. You know what we do. I'm with the G-Pot crew, and I appreciate y'all watching this really long full breakdown and review. And I'll see you guys next time for Chip and Dale Rescue Rangers. And peace out. I'll talk to y'all later.